the decision coming down. Deshaun Watson suspended 6 games, and there was an uproar. It happened the news came out Monday that he was going to be suspended 6 games for violating the NFL's policy, basically making the NFL look bad, not for what he was accused of and all that. That was pushed aside. It was him now being suspended 6 games for really making the NFL, making a mockery of the NFL, basically. And we've been waiting for this news. There was all the rumors, and we're like, it's whatever. It's whatever. Now it's here. 6 games is it. Aaron, what were your thoughts when the suspension rolled through?
Well, I think everybody heard my video that is released, but listen, I don't want to be yelled at by anybody, and I don't want anybody to think that I'm trying to take sides or like downplay this situation. I'm speaking strictly from factual information that we have laid out in front of us. He suspended 6 games. This is not a suspension by the NFL. This is a suspension by an arbitrator that is outside of the NFL. As a matter of fact, the NFL might actually appeal the decision. There's talks that it's not going to happen, but they have the opportunity to actually appeal the decision if they choose to do so. So I don't want people to think this is the NFL setting some bad precedence on, hey, he had all these sexual assault allegations, and look what they did to Calvin Ridley, and look what they did to Josh Gordon, and look what they did to all these other things. We've got to stop doing that. Deshaun Watson had 22 plus sexual assault allegations against him. He sat out all of last year, again, not by the league's doing, by the Houston Texans saying, hey, we are not going to play you. And he sat out all of last year. He now comes into this year. He gets $230 million guaranteed. He gets a contract extension. The Browns trade for him. The NFL probably wanted more. They probably wanted a set of precedent saying, hey, we are going to lay the hammer, make it a year, make it indefinite, whatever. This independent arbitrator says, you know what? I heard the facts from both sides. I am making my decision, and she gave 6 games. I don't know why she gave 6 games. None of us know why she actually decided to say 6 games. But I've heard women groups, men, people, everybody in an uproar about this, especially women groups. And let's not forget, the judge was a woman. I'm sure she wasn't happy with what Deshaun Watson did, but I'm sure she had to do her job as a judge and lay out the facts, everything that's happened, and make an arbitrary decision on how long this man is to be without a job. And she did that. And she said 6 games. Is it right? Is it wrong? I don't know. But it's the decision that was made. And I think what's best at this point is to move forward, especially if you're the NFL. You don't want this black eye continue to linger over the league, right? You want it to move on. You want people to start thinking about football. We're, 4 weeks away from the regular season. I am okay with the decision, and I'm okay with the decision because the person that was designated to do that made the decision. Someone far smarter than I am, someone with more facts than I have, made that decision and said 6 games. Do I agree with it? Maybe not, but I'm okay with that decision, and I'm ready for the Browns, Deshaun Watson, the NFL, and everybody, all the fans to move on.
And let's be real here. No matter what the suspension was that was handed out to Deshaun Watson, whether it was 6 games, 8 games, a whole year, or banned for life, someone, somewhere, all over the Twitter sphere would be in an uproar, causing chaos and being upset about the decision. That's what it comes out like. They would be like, oh, it's too much, or oh, it's too little. There was no winning in this situation. And I really like the way you put it. You just have to move on, move forward. And now, obviously, the restrictions are there for Deshaun Watson. He is not allowed to go outside to get any type of massage work. It's all through the Browns. He's the kid that
that is funny. I will say that is funny to me because that's just,
I don't know how they can actually mandate that. It wasn't a criminal case.
You can't tell the man in his off season. Is it in his contract? Did he have to sign something?
Oh, it's a Kyler Murray situation.
Because you can't just tell a man, hey, you can't go to the massage parlor down the street and get a massage.
So what they did is they actually he has to wear a wristband now, and whenever he goes up to if he comes close to a massage parlor, it beeps and says no, sir, and it alerts the authorities. That's what it is. AJ, your thoughts?
I'm slightly less okay about it. When it first came out, I was a part of the uproar to an extent. I didn't get loud on Twitter or Facebook or anything, but I was a little.
Don't bullshit me. Don't bullshit these fans.
I was too busy.
Don't bullshit these fans. I saw your Calvin Ridley post.
That wasn't
bullshit these fans.
yelling.
That's an
I
uproar.
will say it again. Free Calvin
That's
Ridley.
an uproar.
Sure, 100%. I'll say
Yeah.
it. Free Calvin Ridley. Either way, that
Two different
neither here nor
cases.
there.
Two
That's
different
not what that's here
cases.
for.
Different
I understand,
situation.
but it could have came. Like I said, it could have came out anything less than a year. I was probably gonna say free Calvin Ridley.
Well, the thing is people are serious about that, about comparing this to Calvin Ridley. Two different cases.
Okay, well, since we went there, if we are talking about a stain on the league, and you were talking about the optics, if you will, when you have a guy in an era where you're as the NFL, you are putting out promotional videos for the Black Lives Matter movement, where you are pushing forward towards being a part of the NFL is LGBTQ, the NFL is Me Too, the NFL is BLM, those commercials, and then you have something like this. And again, I understand it was an independent arbitrator. It's going to look really bad. Then you have a guy who, when he wasn't active in the NFL, placed a parlay with 7 teams with his team in the middle to win the game. Not like, hey, he's probably going to lose, and I know that someone's not playing. Like it, and then it's an entire year, $11.1 million loss. Deshaun Watson's not even going to lose $1 million. Like I can understand why people will go to that one first. I understand why people go to Josh Gordon in 25 plus games for marijuana. And that's about to come down because the NFL has just realized they're probably going to lose that battle soon enough. And they're probably going to want to start making money when they can start doing advertisements because it's legal in 40 plus states at that point in time. I digress. For me, I think that it sounds petty. I feel like I would have been better with 8 games. And it seems like the Browns were preparing for 6 to 8 games. That's what I keep hearing, is they expected it would have been around there. And if I'm the NFL, I do at least appeal. Because if it, like Aaron said, you don't want this black mark over the league. If they do nothing, it will continue to be a black mark because everyone's going to say, oh, the NFL is okay with their players being out there doing things like this as long as they show up on Sunday and keep their ratings and their dollars in the pocket. And to an extent, that's probably true. But if you at least appeal and say, we were pushing for the year, we were pushing for at least that year, and see how it plays out from there, you did what you could. You at least said that we did not agree with this. We wanted to fight it a little more. The arbitrator made their secondary decision. Let's not forget, 2 grand juries also made decisions that it wasn't going to be criminally charged. Why shouldn't the NFL at least get a second decision put out there if they at least want to come correct as a league and say you are doing this for the betterment of your shield?
Yeah, so I knew this was going to get into the weeds because I do want to break some of the stuff you talked about down. And I do like bringing up the conversations of the Calvin Ridleys and the Josh Gordons because I do think it matters. I do think the fact that we have people comparing that, it continues to show the lack of awareness and lack of facts that we actually have as fans. Like, we don't know the circumstances behind all these things. We know that we see allegations and we want reaction and we want action. The fact is, Deshaun Watson never admitted to any wrongdoing outside of, putting a stain on the league. He never, there was no criminal charges. There wasn't a Ray Rice video. There wasn't a Robert Kraft video. There was no, at the end of the day, Calvin Ridley broke an NFL rule by betting on the NFL. And to say he wasn't a part of the NFL is false. He was on a roster. He was part of the Atlanta Falcons. He wasn't active, correct. He wasn't playing because he decided he needed to be away from the NFL, yet he was betting on it. So that's a whole nother situation. And I agree. I think the betting thing might be stupid, but he knew the rule and he chose to bet on it. And players have been banned for life because of that. Like, this is a rule that everybody knows. What we're talking about with Deshaun Watson is these allegations. And we have to be very, very careful. And I'm not trying to absolve Deshaun Watson of this at all. It is very easy for these guys to be labeled as whatever because there were allegations against them. And somebody said there was no precedent set for the 6 games. I actually think there was. Ezekiel Elliott got 6 games when he supposedly had some allegations against a female. There was another 6-game suspension when there was supposedly allegations against a female. So I think the reason this is blowing out so much is because of how many allegations there were.
But
if it was one female, but if it was one female and he got 6 games, nobody says anything. 22 women say, hey, he did something to me during these massages, and we say he should never play football again, or it should be here, or 8 games or 10 games. My problem is the allegation word. And I'm not saying, again, that he didn't deserve to be suspended. He didn't deserve certain things. But had they suspended him all of last year, basically they did, not the NFL, but the Houston Texans did. And now he gets 6 more games. I'm okay with him saying, you know what, the man, nobody forced the Browns to pay him $230 million. That was their choice. And that's a lot of this. That's a lot of why this looks really, really bad, because he also gets the money. But the man is going to miss 22 football games where he did not get to play. And so I think at this point, if I'm the NFL, I don't want to be challenged. I don't want it to linger. And you say that they have to show that they're against it. If they show they're against it, guess what the NFL, the fans are going to still do? Well, if the NFL really wanted to do it, they would have suspended him. It's just going to keep it in the conversation when the conversation just needs to stop.
There's no winning.
There's no winning
in the situation.
It doesn't matter if the NFL comes out and says, we want to do this. They've come out and said, we want diversity, but yet Colin Kaepernick's still out of the league, and they're still getting hammered for that. So, like, they're still there. They talk about all the rules with black coaches, and they're getting hammered for that too. Like, there's no winning for the NFL here. The only way for them to win is to get the fans to focus on football. And the only way to do that is to stop the conversation. To stop the conversation, you just leave it alone.
It is going to be a conversation come week 7.
Yeah, for 1 week though. That'll be a 1 week conversation.
Maybe I think it'll be a conversation until the Browns make the playoffs, and then we're talking about how great Deshaun Watson has been for the Cleveland Browns.
If Deshaun Watson comes out week 7, 8, plays well, Browns win, we are no longer talking about sexual assault allegations. We are talking about Deshaun Watson being an MVP candidate or the great quarterback that he is, because this happens all the time. People weren't talking about Zeke after he got suspended. People don't talk about these players when they start to do what they're supposed to do. I think it'll deflate game, all these things.
I think it does matter the magnitude a little bit. And you mentioned that's a part of it, but I think that will have this conversation linger a little longer than you're mentioning as of this point. Go ahead.
I think it'll still always be a note, though. Like, it'll still always
absolutely.
Be. It just won't be like the big strong, because like that's what it is with like Tom Brady. You brought up Deflategate. It always still gets brought up here and there. It's always still a note with Tom Brady. It'll always still be a note with Deshaun Watson. But the more he does good, which we all think he's going to be a very good quarterback for the Browns, it's just going to become that little note with him.